Let us now move to the fourth module, which talks about the well-being of the operational personnel. In this module, we shall learn about the factors affecting human performance.
In the previous modules, we have learned how to reduce human errors and increase the level of safety, and also how to improve our efficiency by better understanding our senses and how we think. Let us now look at the well-being of the employee. Employee well-being affects the performance of individuals, teams and organizations. Improving employee well-being can create a highly motivated workforce which will yield better business results. There are various factors that will affect your on-job performance. They are sleep, fatigue, and shift work, stress, the effects of medication, alcohol, and drugs.
In this module, we are going to talk about a few of the important factors in a little more detail. Let us take a closer look at point 1, which is sleep, fatigue, and shift work.
Let's start by asking ourselves, what is sleep? Sleep is an activity which is necessary to restore the body and the brain. We all know we need to sleep to survive. Now, let's take a look at the other side of the coin, fatigue. Sleep and fatigue are interrelated. Lack of sleep may lead to fatigue.
We then need to ask the question, Professor, what is fatigue? Fatigue is the feeling of extreme tiredness, typically resulting from mental or physical exertion.
Let's consider an example to better understand how the lack of sleep and fatigue will affect our work. Imagine a staff that had to do a double shift and continued to work for 24 hours. We agree that he would be extremely sleepy and tired, but how would his work get affected? He would find concentration very difficult. His decision-making ability would reduce. He would suffer from a lack of vigilance. He will make more errors during his tasks. All these occur due to lack of sleep and increased fatigue.
So, how do we avoid this, Professor?
Remember, we said that fatigue and sleep are two sides of the same coin. Well, the man finally goes home, falls into bed, sleeps a full night's sleep, and wakes up refreshed and ready for another day's work. And this time, he's not making any errors.
Professor, I agree that sleep is the only way to avoid fatigue. But the aviation industry is 24/7 and 365 days of the year. All staff works in shifts.
That is true. Shift work adds different challenges to aviation personnel.
We should first understand what happens when we work in shifts, shouldn't we, Professor?
Yes. What happens with shift work is that the worker is constantly trying to be alert and working, while his body wants to sleep, and sleep when his body is telling him that it's time to be awake.
Well, we have already seen that lack of sleep causes errors, and sleep is the primary function that is disrupted by shift work. So, is there a way of reducing the ill effects of shift work?
Good question, Professor. The safety and well-being of operational personnel is of primary importance, and the best shift system attempts to minimize the build-up of fatigue over periods of work, maximize the dissipation of fatigue over periods of rest, minimize sleep problems and circadian disruption.
But how is that done, Professor?
Well, Professor, the best way is to move from a morning shift to an evening shift, what is called the MAN formula, that is, morning, afternoon, night. Most importantly, a night shift should be followed by at least 2 days of rest.
Now that we have seen the importance of sleep, let us move on to another factor affecting human performance, and that is stress.
If you think about it, Professor, stress is a very normal response to any demand or set of demands requiring us to adapt in order to match them. Stress is a normal part of life. Some stress is good, as it prevents a laid-back attitude and keeps us on our toes. But too much stress is harmful.
The reasons for stress can be different, can't they, Professor?
Yes, stress can be due to personal reasons, such as stresses associated with home, marriage, birth of a child, a son or daughter leaving home, death of a close family member or friend, marital problems, and divorce.
Of course, stress also occurs due to work pressure, which could be due to either the task they are undertaking or sometimes even when the general organizational environment is conducive to stress.
It is important for us to manage stress for our own well-being and for efficient performance.
How do we manage stress, Professor?
Well, good stress management techniques involve relaxation techniques, careful regulation of sleep and diet, a regime of regular physical exercise, counseling ranging from talking to a supportive friend or colleague to seeking professional advice.
We have seen the effects of fatigue and stress on performance and how to manage the effects of both. Now let us examine the effects of substances.
Yes, Professor. Drugs, whether medicinal or recreational, and alcohol all have an adverse impact on performance. Some prescription drugs induce drowsiness and have other side effects that may hamper performance. We need to be aware of these effects.
We all know that consumption of alcohol interferes with motor coordination, memory, and judgment and impairs performance. We should not drink and come to work.
The use of certain recreational drugs also impair thought and performance and should be avoided. Remember, alcohol and drugs are a dangerous combination and can even be lethal.
Well, Professor, we have spoken about drugs and alcohol, but we should mention an everyday substance that we consume without thinking in various forms. I'm talking about caffeine, Professor.
You are so right, Professor. Caffeine is found in so many everyday products, such as some food products and beverages, that we often consume it without realizing. Not many of us realize that excessive consumption of caffeine results in anxiety and disturbed sleep. It even causes cold turkey or withdrawal if stopped suddenly.
Well, that brings us to the end of our fourth and final module on human factors, which was the well-being of operational personnel.
In this module, we have learned that fatigue, stress, and consumption of certain substances impair performance, and we have also seen how we can deal with it. That brings us to the end of the Orion Learning Human Factors Awareness course. We hope that the knowledge you have acquired from this course enables you to enhance the safety, efficiency, and the well-being of the operations staff in your teams and organizations.
Please remember, safety, efficiency, and well-being of operational personnel is everyone's responsibility.
Thank you.